Happy Sunday evening, kings and queens. It's your girl, Wisdom's daughter. Welcome back to the channel, especially if you're new. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button for your girl and subscribe to the channel so that you can participate in the live chat. We're getting into some shenanigans on tonight. Sorry that we are on the live so late. Normally, I like to go a little bit earlier, but I have a guest in the house today. She goes by the name of Cleopatra, and she is a nearly 80-pound American Bully XL. She's got a lot of energy. So I had to make sure we get everybody fed and walked and get them off to bed because I promise you, they don't let me do anything up in here. All right, let's go ahead and greet those who are first in the building. So I got June's Poetry in the building. Said, hey, family. Thank you, King, for being on. I've got Zen Soul. Said, hey, WD and June's Poetry. I'm charging my phone. Nizzle. I got Palova in the building. She said, hey, everyone's. Nola Brown is in the building. All right. Thank you, guys. There's many more of y'all in the bushes, but it's all good. I will greet you guys as you come forward. She's and so said, may the 4th be with you all. I love it. Absolutely, y'all. Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. You gotta let me know what you guys are doing for Cinco de Mayo on tomorrow. So, but anyway, we're gonna get into some shenanigans. I gotta set a few things up. But again, those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button and that you're subscribed. So honestly, y'all, listen. Some stories are better than fiction. I swear you cannot make this stuff up. So we're going to talk about a patient who survives cancer only to die of HIV. And you're not going to believe how and why and from who. All right, we're going to get into that. That's an interesting story that I wanted to talk about. What's going on with your girl Beyonce? I thought the Cowboy Carter tour was going well, but I'm hearing about her stage props malfunctioning, and that's what happens when you be trying to do too much, and empty seats and all kind of stuff. Hearing about empty seats, not empty seats at a Beyonce concert. And then we got to talk about Gene Hackman, y'all. This story, I didn't really cover it too much with Gene Hackman, but it's an interesting story. First of all, because him and his wife had been deceased so long before they were found. But how about Gene Hackman wrote his kids out of his will? Okay, they got disinherited. Look at his face, y'all. Gene Hackman is like, these rotten ass kids ain't getting a dime of my money. Well, they let him know what they thought about being disinherited, and we're gonna get into that. And then we got to talk about this clown, this fool, because apparently now Donald Trump wants to be Pope. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna get into all this and more. Give me just a minute to set up a couple things, and we're gonna go right into our first story. And hopefully everybody is doing well on this Sunday evening, that you had a good weekend. If you're in the Atlanta area, we were dealing with storms. Y'all, I was supposed to go live last night. How about I got stuck at Walmart? Okay, I had to shelter in place at Walmart. When I tell you them storms were real, you have not seen rain like this. You ever seen rain so hard that you can't see through it? I mean, literally, you can't see through the rain. That's how hard it was raining. It was loud. The Walmart here has a like a tin roof, and it was so loud. Then I'm in the aisle looking for a new crock pot, and then all of a sudden I get a notification about a tornado warning to take shelter imminently. So y'all already know what I did. I was not leaving Walmart. I was keying up with the employees. Y'all know I don't play with the emergency preparedness stuff. I was like, okay, just in case it gets real bad, y'all have a bed for me in case I have to sleep here tonight. Like, what's our contingency plan? What we doing? All right, what's going on? Want to make sure we straight. So anyway, so that is why I did not go live last night as much as I wanted to. Just because it wasn't even safe. I had a friend from out of town. It was trying to link up, surprise me. Well, not to say that my friend was just here for me, but surprise me. And I was like, yeah, you're like an hour away, and I'm looking at tornadoes right now. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. So anyway, that was my Saturday afternoon. All right, y'all, hang on 1 second for me. Stand by. If you're hearing a little chirping sound in the background, that's Cleo. She is a 80-pound puppy. She is she's an XL and she's 1 year old, but still considered a puppy. And she's back there with my dogs, but apparently she's like, "Can I be out here with you?" So I might have to let her out because she's not gonna let me get through this live. All right, Zenso. Let me see. June's Poetry says Zenso and Nola Brown. Are you from my hometown area 504? Uh where McDonough 35 is? I know that's right. Zenso said, I have not heard about Felon 45 wanting to become Pope. Oh my goodness. Well, let me show y'all this. Let me see if I still have it up here. Apparently the church was not happy. Let's start with we gonna start with the clown, the biggest clown of all. Let's go ahead and start there. Thank you so much, Zenso. You gave us our start. Um, we are not going to be talking about Nesto on this evening. I got to get into some other stuff because it's a lot of shenanigans going on besides his shenanigans. But anyway, that's not the only thing that I wanted to talk about with Donald Trump wanting to be Pope. There's something else I want to share with y'all that y'all might not have heard about, and y'all not going to believe this. But anyway, let's get into this first story real quick. Let's get into this story real quick. All right, y'all. Hold on a second. Let's move some of these comments out the way. And those of you who are in the bushes, shout out to the bushes. Kia is in the building. Zenso said Walmart, all Walmarts are made to withstand major weather. I know that's right. This is the second year in a row that I have been at Walmart and there were tornadoes. I don't know what's up with Walmart and the tornadoes. But anyway, y'all stand by. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. Miss Cleo has entered the chat. Her name really is Cleo. It's Cleopatra, and we call her Cleo for short. So Miss Cleo was like, no, you ain't having me back here. All right, let's get into this story. This was an interesting one. So Donald Trump gets slammed for sharing this AI generated photo. Okay. It's not enough that he has explicitly stated that he does desire to be a dictator, even though he claimed later that he was joking. But now he wants to be the Pope. Okay. For those of you who are not aware, the Pope is like the most powerful man in Europe. You know, they say in the world, but I beg to differ. Anyway, so Donald Trump and the White House shared an AI generated image of Trump as Pope on Saturday morning. The move drew sharp criticism online, with one user referring to it as a complete mockery. Just days prior, upon his return from Pope Francis's funeral at the Vatican, Donald Trump joked after this man's funeral to reporters that he would like to be Pope. Following Pope Francis' death on April 21st, cardinals at the Vatican will begin the conclave to choose a new pope, and that's going to be happening on May 7th. All right, so those of you interested in that, you can check that out on May 7th. Now, a lot of people are slamming Trump and the White House for sharing this image depicting him in the holy role. Okay, you are a 34, well, I can't say 34 times, but you are a convicted felon. 34 counts, okay? 34 felony convicted felon. And you are dressing yourself up as the Pope. I can't do it. Anyway, please, MAGA, explain to me how this quote unquote man of faith isn't making a mockery of the pious, wrote one user. A man of faith, the man wouldn't even put his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in. Did y'all peep that? And there goes your Catholic base. Great move, President, wrote somebody else. You got mad a man didn't wear a suit to speak to you, talking about Volodymyr Zelensky, but you're okay mocking the head of an entire religion less than 2 weeks after the man died. Now, some people took it as a joke, but the Vatican, nah, they weren't feeling that way. I guess people aren't getting the joke from when the reporter asked him if he'd want to be Pope. It's a joke, you guys. Well, you know what's not a joke? What's not a joke is that we're heading into a recession. What's not a joke is that while Donald Trump is telling everybody everything is fine, his aides are actually stockpiling and hoarding canned goods, food, and toilet paper behind the scenes. So anyway, that was just a little article I wanted to share with y'all. But this is really what I wanted to share with you guys in regards to Donald Trump. Okay. He's planning for his 79th birthday. And that's great. Who doesn't deserve to plan for their birthday, right? But here's the problem. He wants us to pay for it. And you know how much it's going to cost? Because we already spent, what, a total of close to $30 million for him to play golf, right? Because apparently Doge did not see any deficiency, didn't see any waste with us spending money for him to play golf. Anyway, during Trump's first term, it was estimated that a military parade like the one he wants would cost more than $92 million. Reminder that he's responsible for job losses of thousands of people. I just heard that UPS is about to lay off 20,000 people. The USDA that monitors our food to make sure that our food is safe is about to let go of 15,000. They have 15,000 people who accepted voluntary retirement, and that's not including the thousands of employees that were let go from the FAA, who keeps our planes in the air and keeps us safe on the runway, right? It's been a lot of plane crashes lately. I mean, to the likes that you have never seen, using Donald Trump's words. Anyway, and the list just goes on and on and on, from CMS to NIH, everything. And he also, meaning Donald Trump, he wants to cut benefits for children because that's considered waste. He wants to cut benefits for the disabled and the elderly that they need to survive because he is allegedly trying to save taxpayers money. So you want to save us money, we're just not going to have any health care. Okay. You want to save us money, but our kids just won't have a Head Start program. Okay. But he has no problem wasting hundreds of millions of taxpayers' dollars golfing and throwing himself a military parade. This man disrespected the military. And you know that he wants to change Veterans Day to something like Victory Day or some foolishness. Anyway, Trump's complete lack of knowledge about tariffs has caused the stock market to tank. Along with retirement plans for many U.S. taxpayers, there are people who lost their entire 401k. Okay. So it's pretty clear at this point that he's leading the U.S. into another recession with higher prices, but he wants to waste $100 million to live out his fantasies of being a dictator whose birthday is a national celebration while taxpayers will suffer. And he was quoted in an interview saying that he really don't care if we go into a recession. That was the pain that he was talking about. Yeah, so y'all tell me in the comments what y'all think about Donald Trump. I'm gonna get to your comments now because I can't see him. What y'all think about Donald Trump throwing himself $100 million party? Okay, Kia said, "Oh my God, I can't, girl, I can't either." Okay, I can't either, and I can't with the sound effects. But when you're dealing with babies, they don't know what bedtime is. So she done found her a toy. And this whole house, but she has to be sitting next to me. Anyway, there may be a black pope. I heard about that, Zen. So that would be nice. I think that would be great for the world's morale. Absolutely. Zen said I can't stand dementia, Don. I love it. He is jealous of pootie cakes. Pootie cakes. I went to a few years back. Actually, it was more than a few years back. In 2017, I went to this fair in Pennsylvania, and it was actually really nice. They had vendors, good food, and all that. And it was in this cute little town, and there was like a specialty store that had just like all the things, right? So I go to this, and this was a few years before COVID, but I go to the back where they have like all the gag stuff, and there's toilet paper with Donald Trump's face on it. And then they had a bottle of like room spray called Putin with Vladimir Putin's face on it. It was hilarious. But anyway, she said, hold on, let me actually go back to One second. Let me go back to your comment. I meant to upload these photos. She said, Pootie cakes. I cannot with you, Senso. She said, don't get me started. The orange menace. You know what? This is hilarious. But listen, somebody voted for this man. You know, this is what they allegedly voted for. All right, so moving on. Let's go ahead and talk about this Beyonce foolishness because Beyonce does not play when it comes to her concert. She's very much a perfectionist. Her own mama said that she's very difficult, not difficult to work with, but she's just very particular with how she wants things to be and how she wants things to go. And apparently, during one of her concerts, she did not have her marker in place. I guess they were supposed to mark the floor where she was supposed to be standing because she had these huge magnetic arms that were supposed to look like a cell phone case, I guess, or a mirror. I'm not really sure. And it could have been really, really dangerous for Beyonce if she had been hit with one of those magnetic arms. So we were like, we already know that heads are gonna roll. And then I'm like, didn't anybody tell Becky that you don't run on stage behind Beyonce unless it's, even if it's an emergency? She usually has the Les twins for that. But anyway, Becky was all up in the background. I don't know what she was doing, but it was too little too late. And Beyonce is being hit with a cease and desist. So something she did. But anyway, Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour hit with empty seats as fans claim they know why. Ooh, Beyonce. Now, I've been to a Beyonce concert and it was standing room only. I had box seats, so I was good. But anyway, Beyonce has launched her Cowboy Carter tour following the massive success of her Renaissance World Tour 2 years ago. I wonder if Beyonce is just doing the most at this point and she just needs to go another route, or is she just doing what she can while she can? Okay, because she's 43. I'm about 2 years older than she is, and doing all this dancing on stage, it takes a toll on you after a while. And she got her daughter Blue Ivy, who is taller than she is, dancing and carrying on. Blue Ivy's so cute, but she got a long way to go before she catch her mama. And Rumi was on stage too, all right, with her big sister rolling her eyes. I don't know what that was about, but anyway, but where's her son? We never see the son. There's rumors that he has I guess he's autistic or delayed, I don't know. But anyway, so according to this article by The Mirror, it appears that 43-year-old superstar Beyonce is facing challenges in selling out her shows this time around, with fans noticing vacant seats and sections of the stadium draped with blankets, and they have their theories. Beyonce, who is a household name, I guess that's a fair statement, stands as one of the most streamed and beloved artists around the world. The songstress boasts an impressive net worth of $800 million, according to Forbes. And that was from 2 years ago. So it's possible Beyonce might be about to push, into the billion now. Her latest musical venture, the album Cowboy Carter, is taking her on a whirlwind tour of 32 cities across the US and Europe, including shops in Los Angeles, Chicago. I said shops, including stops in Los Angeles, Chicago, New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey Shore, indeed. London, Paris, Houston. All right, y'all know I'm tired. Houston, Atlanta, Washington, and Las Vegas. There actually is a street in New York called Houston, and some people say Houston Street, but it's pronounced Houston. But anyway. But now, interestingly, London tops the list with the most dates. She's hosting a total of 6 shows in London. And if you didn't know, her tour kicked off on April 28th at the Sophie Stadium in Inglewood, California. Oh, she was in the hood. Inglewood is the hood. Each concert spans 2 hours and 45 minutes, featuring tracks from her latest album, along with fan favorite classics like Crazy in Love and Formation. Okay. All right, Miss Sting. However, despite her immense popularity and staggering wealth, footage from fans revealed numerous empty seats. Not empty seats at a Beyonce concert. That's a no-no. Beyonce, ooh. what is that an indication of? So let's see. Some people said they kind of know why. It said, contrary to high expectations and the triumph of her past tours, images and videos are circulating on social media showing unoccupied seats, a surprising revelation considering her previous Renaissance World Tour that raked in 300. Wait. This number can't be right. Hold on a second. They're saying that her Renaissance World Tour raked in 388,560 million. What kind of number is that? I promise y'all, I have not been drinking. But anyway, she's setting a record for the highest grossing tour by a Black artist. Well, we know one thing Beyonce is going to do, she's going to break records. The tour's swath of empty seat stands in stark contrast to the mad dash for tickets, marking Beyonce's previous world tour escapades. Such was the frenzy for her Renaissance World Tour. You know what? I think the issue is that she's doing these tours too close together. I think she needs to spread them out a little bit. Tickets vanished within mere minutes upon release, with a staggering 400,000 fans battling it out in the pre-sale lines just for the UK dates. This was the Renaissance tour, so apparently this tour is not doing so well. Now, February 2025, Beyonce unveiled her tour plans, triggering a wave of fan outrage over the sky-high ticket prices, which soared into the thousands for certain sections. Who is paying thousands of dollars for tickets to a Beyonce concert? I don't know. This has led many to conclude that these exorbitant costs are at the heart of the disappointing turnout. Sophie Stadium boasts a capacity to host 70,000 spectators, yet in an unexpected turn of events, ticket prices plummeted for her May 1st, 4th, 7th, and 9th concerts as a result of too many vacant seats. Those seats, originally tagged as soaring prices, suddenly dropped to affordable figures such as $54 on Ticketmaster. Wow, see, they're going to piss somebody off. Somebody done paid thousands of dollars for some tickets, and now they lowered the price down to $54. An ex-user said, it's so funny that people are acting like the Cowboy Carter tour not being sold out has anything to do with Beyonce's cultural relevance, when it's actually because the ticket cost is a gazillion dollars. Well, I don't know who came up with that plan, but anyway, that's what's happening with your girl. Somebody said, I'm sorry, but we need to talk about Beyonce charging her fans over $1,000 for pit tickets. And it's a standard ticket too, like no perks at all, no merch, early entry, like question mark, $1,000 face value. One attendee's take on the opening night in Inglewood was less than flattering. She said, Cowboy Carter tour, more like empty tour. Ooh, damn. Echoing the sentiment, another observer noted, watching the timeline complaining about Beyonce ticket prices a couple months ago and then checking Ticketmaster to see them $45 now. Yeah, that's going to be a problem for Beyonce. That's definitely going to be a problem. Well, they said that she's set to dazzle Londoners during her intense 6-day stint at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the heart of the UK's bustling capital. And she's got shows lined up in June. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, what do you expect? How are you going to charge $1,000 for pit tickets with no incentives? So anyway, that's what's going on with Beyonce. Now, there was something else I wanted to tell y'all about this party that Donald Trump is planning for himself. It's supposed to include 6,600 troops. So Donald Trump could not get anybody to go. I don't even think he has 6,000 people at his inauguration. Okay, get this. The plan for his military birthday parade. What are you, 5? Dad, I want a military parade. It's supposed to have more than 6,600 soldiers, 150 vehicles, 50 helicopters, 7 bands, and possibly a couple thousand civilians. This is what he is planning for his birthday. And again, this party comes with a price tag of $100 million. And so those who are still out here supporting this man, he can do no wrong. I guess, y'all don't mind paying for his $100 million birthday party, because there's a lot of people out here that don't have health care, losing their Medicaid, losing their benefits, losing their pensions, and now we got to pay for this man's foolishness. Anyway, I want to get into Gene Hackman because this was a very, very interesting story. And on that note, let me just pause and get to some of your comments. All right, let's move Beyonce out of the way. We're going to talk about Gene Hackman now. So Sophie Stadium is expensive. If I remember correctly, Maxwell was asking 1,000 and close to 2,000 up front. Oh, wow. So apparently that location is very expensive. Well, I would rather charge less for tickets and not have empty seats than trying to get as many people up front as possible to pay all that money. Just to, I mean, what does she think? Don't get me wrong. A lot of people love Bay, Queen Bay, whatever you want to call it, but I don't think her concert is worth that kind of money. I mean, at the end of the day, I haven't been to a Beyonce concert and I can't even tell you when. I just watch it on TikTok. Okay. I let everybody else pay all that money for them concerts and then they post it, the good parts on TikTok. And that's good enough for me. Jam said, want to talk about wasteful spending. Well, speaking of spending, let's talk about what's happening with your boy, Gene Hackman. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can move that. That's not any better. Anyway, let's talk about Gene Hackman. So why I'm bringing up this story is because his children buried him in an unmarked grave. Gene Hackman, the actor, because he disinherited them out of $80 million. Gene Hackman's burial details were finally revealed as he was laid to rest after his mysterious death. Well, it's not so mysterious because we finally found out what happened. The actor, who died at the age of 95, was buried in New Mexico alongside his wife, Betsy Arakawa, but his grave was left unmarked. Wow. That's cold. His final farewell was orchestrated by his children, who were left out of the will, confirmed by the Daily Mail. The $80 million will was full of contention as it could spark a legal battle. His estate was reportedly meant to be handed down to successor trustees, but they also had passed away. So as a result, the individual overseeing the estate made a formal petition to shift the successor trustee temporarily, and that was approved by a judge. His wealth was meant to pass on to his wife, but her untimely passing resulted in a question of where the funds go. And it is believed that his children were not listed as beneficiaries. That's cold, Gene Hackman. That's wow. I'm wondering what his children, is it buffering, guys? Am I buffering? Because I'm not seeing it buffer on the screen. So I'm not sure. Zen, so try going out and going back in and see if that helps. I want to show y'all the look on this man's face. I mean, this look says it all. He looks very happy here standing next to his wife, but look at this photo. My. I don't know what his kids did to him, but they must have been either rotten kids or very spoiled. So he was survived by his 3 children, Christopher Hackman, Elizabeth Hackman, and Leslie Hackman. Now, while they were written out of the will, they still might become the default receivers. California attorney Trey Lovell told BBC that the estate will actually be probated in accordance with interstate succession laws, and the children would be lawfully next in line to inherit. So they might end up getting his money anyway. He was previously candid about his complex relationship with his children. He told the New York Times in 1989, "You become very selfish as an actor. Even though I had a family, I took jobs that would separate us for 3 and 4 months at a time. The temptations in that, the money and recognition, it was too much for the poor boy in me. Due to the extensive investigation, they were not buried until 2 months after their deaths, and the ceremony was kept private." The revered Hollywood couple lost their lives in their Santa Fe abode back in February under initially mysterious conditions, but it was later confirmed by officials that Gene Hackman succumbed to acute heart disease compounded by Alzheimer's challenges 1 week after his partner's passing. How sad is that? So his wife passed first, and he's 95 with Alzheimer's. He doesn't have anybody to help feed him. He doesn't have anybody to help take him to the bathroom, to change his diapers, or, or anything like that, to give him water. So here's what the autopsy reported. Said that this is what they said about his final days. One such detail was that the presence of acetone was in his digestive system, hinting that he may have refrained from eating after Betsy's demise to the time of his own death. Because Betsy, his wife, that was his primary caretaker. Gene had an acetone concentration. Now, think about acetone for a second. If ladies, those of you who get your nails done, especially if you wear if you wear acrylic nails or any type of wrap, typically it's acetone that they use to dissolve the nail extensions. He had an acetone concentration of 5.3 milligrams per DL, far exceeding the normal peak blood acetone levels of 0.3, indicating a substantial duration of fasting. This man basically had a heart attack due to not eating, due to starvation and probably dehydration. Betsy tragically fell victim to hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or HPS, which is a deadly ailment spread through contact with infected rodent waste, because they found rodent feces and rats all over the house. Now, I didn't really cover this in detail previously, but what I did learn is that Gene Hackman's wife had become obsessive with his diet. She had him on a very restrictive diet. He couldn't eat this. He couldn't eat that. He had to do this. She had him doing exercises and stuff like that. And I guess at some point, she had an issue or trouble keeping their mansion clean. I mean, this was a sprawling estate. And so she apparently picked up hantavirus from there being rats and rodents in the house. And I believe one or two of their dogs also died. An intensive health inspection later discovered a multitude of expired residents across the property, likely leading to her exposure to the fatal disease. That is really, really sad. So that's the situation on Gene Hackman. His children are gonna have to fight it out in court. That's wow. All right, moving on. This here, you can't make this up. A woman survives cancer only to die after unknowingly marrying an HIV positive man. This is the story that I wanted to talk about, and then the last story, that's going to be a big one. So let's get into this one. This one here, I don't even understand. I don't even understand this. We're going to get into it in just a second. Let me just take this off the screen. But this was really shocking to me, and it was disheartening as well. Can you imagine? You're going through cancer, you're going through chemo, you survive that only to die of HIV from your husband, right? I have seen so many news stories of men that have HIV and knowingly pass it on to women. We just have to be careful. All right, let me get into this article and then I'm going to get to your comments. After twice defeating cancer, 58-year-old Denise Broadie of Georgia, of course it had to be Georgia. I haven't read, I heard about this story. I haven't read the article in detail yet. I didn't know she was from Georgia, but of course she would be from Georgia, right? All right. So Denise Broadie of Georgia thought the worst was behind her. But in a heartbreaking turn of events, Denise died in April of 2022, just days after learning she had full-blown AIDS. Now her husband, Cleveland Broadie, is facing malice schmutta and felony schmutta charges for allegedly hiding his HIV positive status for years, including throughout their marriage. See, this would not happen to any woman as easily if you have your partners show you their test results. We're going to talk about that in a second. I have been doing this since I was in college. I went to an HBCU in North Carolina, and as a part of my work study program, I worked in the clinic. And what I learned was that a number of some of my fellow students and other students at the university had a number of STIs and STDs. And so I was so terrified that anytime I had a new partner, they had to go get tested first. I need to see your test results. And I have done that since then. Nope. There is no one night stand. There is no, because there are things that you can catch whether you cover up or not. Anyway, so according to court records and Denise's grieving family, Cleveland Broadie, now in his 60s, early 60s, had known he was HIV positive since at least 2006. Here she is. That's so sad. So he knew, yet prosecutors say he never informed Denise or other partners, a revelation that has since rocketed their small community and devastated the family she left behind. Well, y'all stay away from somebody named Cleveland. Anybody named Cleveland. If it's a dude named Cleveland in Georgia, just don't do it. Denise Broadie was first diagnosed with cancer in 2017 and went into remission, only to face it again in 2019 and beat it a second time. Despite her resilience, she continued to experience unexplained health problems. In March of 2022, while seeking care at a different hospital, doctors ran additional tests and delivered a diagnosis that stunned her. She had AIDS, full blown, and died 2 days later, with her daughter saying that she fought hard. And to find out her death could have been prevented if she had been told the truth, that's what hurts the most. So here is the dude that did it. Okay. So if y'all see this man, stay the hell away from him. Okay. He looked like Nesto's cousin. Okay. He looked like he could be related to Ernest Williams. So stay away. This is really, really, really sad. The family says that Denise may have unknowingly lived with the virus for years, all while believing her health struggles were related solely to her cancer battles. Once again, when you go, every time I go to my medical doctor, every single time I go to my medical doctor, whether it's twice a year, once a year, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year, every single appointment, regardless if it's my medical doctor, my GYN, or whoever, ask me if I want to take an HIV test. And you know what I tell them? Yes. They're going to draw blood anyway. So why not test it just to be sure? How do you have the virus for? It takes some time for HIV to become full blown. So you're talking about a woman who was probably just maybe doing her annual GYN appointment. And I'm surprised that they weren't, I don't know, maybe they need to change health policy and make it mandatory that, when you get your annual checkup, it's mandatory that you get checked for HIV. But you got to get checked. If you're active, you got to get checked. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you got one partner or 15 partners. You got to get checked. And you don't even see the commercials and the billboards and stuff anymore. It's like it has flown under the radar. What you do see is the PrEP commercials promoting PrEP. PrEP is not a cure-all, and it doesn't protect you from everything. It's not, anyway. In the aftermath of her death, the family hired a private investigator and soon uncovered details suggesting Cleveland had been aware of his diagnosis long before their 2014 marriage and deliberately withheld it. There was malice in what he did. At any time, he could have told her and given her the right to make the decision to stay with him, not that she would have, and that's exactly why he didn't tell her. He was initially charged with reckless conduct in 2023 after findings of the investigation, but according to WANF, those charges expanded as multiple women came forward with similar allegations. So as Nesta would say, he got more charges thrown on him, and they just threw some more charges on him, resulting in 3 separate reckless conduct charges. He was arrested in July of 2023 and pleaded not guilty. Not guilty. Are you kidding me? According to the article, the case took a more serious turn when a Georgia grand jury recently indicted him for schmutta. An arrest warrant confirmed Denise's AIDS diagnosis resulted in her death, directly linking his alleged silencing to her passing, according to a report by Law and Crime. It remains unclear whether Cleveland Broadie has entered a plea on the new unaliving charges. However, Denise's family is determined to seek justice for the woman they say was betrayed by the man she trusted the most. Now, let's just put this in perspective. They're going to criminal court. Okay, they could easily sue this man or try to sue him for millions of dollars, right? But he probably doesn't even have $10, let alone 10 million. But they're seeking out justice in criminal court. It's interesting that you have a young lady who's seeking out $50 million, to a man that she was actually pursuing even after she claims he did some things. So it's just interesting how certain things are put into perspective. So what are your thoughts on that? Let me see. Let me go to the comments and see where we're at on that. June's Poetry said, I know cases with that infection targeted. I know cases where those with that infection targeted others in the 80s. Absolutely. What's going on, Snoopalicious? I see you, Queen. How you been? Zenso said, poor Denise. They go on a rampage to infect others. Absolutely. I was warned before I came to Atlanta multiple times. I was warned about three things. I was warned about the STI rate, especially because there's a large Black LGBTQ community here. And there's a lot of down low brothers here. That was the first thing. I was warned about polygamous relationships. Okay. There's a lot of open polygamous and bigamous relationships here in Georgia. And I was warned about trafficking. Okay. Big issue with trafficking. So you don't get that information all the time when you're looking up moving to Atlanta. People here that you have, Atlanta is known for Black success, right? You have a lot of high profile Black realtors and real estate agents that are selling these $1 million homes and doing very well. You have other Black entrepreneurs. If you want to be a Black entrepreneur, Atlanta is the place to be. That's the word on the street. But what they don't tell you is about all the other stuff, right? Anyway, she said, but wasn't it detected in her blood work? It would only be detected. They cannot just test you for HIV without your permission. You have to sign off on it. You have to give permission for them to run that test. That's why they ask you. There's no policy right now where it's automatically done. And I honestly believe, as crazy as it sounds, that if a doctor did test someone without their permission, they could probably actually be sued. Married or single, trust no one. It's sad but true, especially here in Georgia. Okay, there's some other states where you might be able to get away with certain things, but not here. Back in the day, before marrying, a blood test was mandatory and checked for virus. They stopped due to HIPAA. You're right. I remember that. And maybe we need to go back to that. Jam said, people in the world doing all kinds of unnatural things. The Most High is not pleased, and we shall see soon. I know that's right. You can't even let folks kiss you anymore. I need recent health paperwork. She said, don't even kiss me, honey. I know that's right. What's going on, Leo lady? All right. So now I want to get to the story of stories. Okay. I don't know if you've heard about this particular story. Some of these are local stories, but we have to talk about this one in particular. Hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second and I'll bring up the story. So, oops. Hold on one second. I always do that. I literally just took out one of my articles. Hold on one second. So there is a woman in Minnesota who has received over $500,000 in donations after calling a 5-year-old autistic boy the N-word. I promise you cannot make this up. And let me see if this is, I want to read to you the first article because it goes into detail about what happened. And I'm going to show you what she looks like. Now, we're also going to talk about, we can't talk about this story without talking about Carmelo Anthony, not to be confused with Lala Anthony's husband, but the other Carmelo with the K Anthony and Austin Metcalf. This is the young white boy who was stabbed to death at a game. Okay. Let me show you what this woman looks like. This is who we're talking about. Okay. So she's from Rochester, Minnesota. Okay. She was accused of calling a child the N-word on a playground. I'm going to keep her picture up there. Okay. This one here. She was recorded saying the racial slurs in a video over and over and over, and has now received hundreds of thousands of dollars after going viral online. Let me put that into perspective. Somebody captures video of this white woman who's holding her baby, calling a 5-year-old the N-word and berating him and a number of other racial slurs, which you can imagine. Okay. The video goes viral, receiving 11.5 million views in 2 days. And she receives hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations. So we're giving donations to someone who thinks it's okay to use the N-word on a 5-year-old. It's not okay for an adult, but see, an adult will just knock your teeth out. A mother named Shiloh Hendricks started a Give, Send, Go page after a video of her posted on TikTok went viral online as it received more than 11.5 million views in 2 days. The video posted to TikTok was posted by an account called Tizzy Entertainment. That was the person that actually posted the video, who said they censored the video showing Hendricks being confronted by a male recording her while she holds her baby. Okay. On that note, let me show you the video. As soon as I find it. Oh, okay. Found it. You cannot make this up. Now, I told you that this story is connected to Carmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf story. I'm going to explain to you why in just a minute. And then I'll put it all in perspective, right? Let's take a look at this.
You call him the child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him. Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Okay. All right, that's what you say. Nobody digging to you. That little kid, you call him the little child? Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be that.
I don't give
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
All right. So you heard her in the video multiple times calling this little boy the N-word and other things, if that's what he's going to act like, because he was rummaging through her bag. The guy in the video asked if she called another child at the playground the N-word. She flipped him the bird, and she also flipped the bird to the person who was recording her, saying the N-word multiple times in a row, looking right into the camera. He took my son's stuff, is what she said when arguing with the man recording her. The boy who was accused of taking her son's things reportedly has autism. So he says, so that gives you the right to call the child 5 years old the N-word? If that's what he's going to act like, is her response. After the video went viral on TikTok, Hendricks. Okay, let me put her picture back up here. All right, let me put her picture back up here. All right. So after the video goes viral on TikTok, she goes and creates a crowdfunding page claiming that her personal information, such as her phone number, address, and social security number, had been leaked. So basically, she's claiming that she had been doxxed, causing her quote unquote great turmoil, and claiming that she and her family are in danger and needed to move after extreme threats by people online. The Give Send Go page that she created shows an image of her with her child in the mirror with the title, "Help Me Protect My Family." Stay with me, okay? Help me protect my family. This is another white woman who is really the one who's at fault, crying victim. Help me protect my family. The page currently, at the time of this article, raised $413,000 with a goal of $1 million. Right? Right now, as it stands today, it's over 500,000. As the recent donations portion shows, she has been flooded with donations, people including their reasoning for donating, right? Because think about it. People are donating to a woman who used a racial slur on a 5-year-old. Kids do stuff. They touch things that are not theirs. That's what kids do. You think her raggedy child has never touched something that don't belong to him? Someone said, I don't agree with the use of the word, but the response to what happened is a microcosm of the white hate that is all too common, wrote an anonymous giver who donated $10. The white hate? What white hate? What white hate? You mean you being called into account? So a black person or a person of color or a white person, doesn't matter what race, telling someone it's not okay to use hate speech, right? In this case, black man tells white woman it's not okay to use hate speech, and that's considered white hate. Or is the white hate the fact that she was doxxed? Or is the white hate the fact that she's crying victim, she needs to protect her family? Another anonymous giver, which is someone who chooses to donate anonymously, well, obviously, donated $10,000 with one word in the description, quote unquote, enough. Enough? And enough of what? Where was this energy for George Floyd? Where was this energy for Michael Brown? Where was this energy for Eric crying out, I can't breathe? Where was this energy for Sonia when the police came up in her house after she called them about a possible intruder and she was shot where she stood? I mean, literally blasted off of her feet. Where was that energy? If white people don't stand up for each other, no one will stand up for us. They gave $500,000 to Austin Metcalf's killer. Let's protect a woman who stood up to a Somalian pervert, wrote Stone Choir Enjoyer, who donated $1,500. Because apparently white people don't stand up for each other. What world are they living in? Y'all, please make it make sense. Help me make it make sense. And I swear, I know it's late, and that's probably why it's not a lot of people in here. I wish that there were more people on, but I know that by the morning, people will come on the replay. All right? If the roles were reversed, that 5-year-old would be in cuffs. Hello? Oh my goodness. Poor little racist. Boo-hoo. The freaking who. YouTube victim dog whistle. Now there's a bounty off a black 5-year-old child. What's going on, Marcy? How are you, Queen? They should make her give every cent of that money back, and the family of that child should sue that woman. Facts. Facts. White people, since when do white people not stand up for each other? To be honest with you, it's only really within the black community that we don't stand together enough. Okay? Because when we do, we make change, right? They're already asking where are black women and men? Why are we not protesting? Now the few boo-boo the fools that were out there protesting got arrested. I didn't see too many white people get arrested, but I seen quite a few black people. Why y'all out there? Don't you think we've done enough protesting? Don't you think we've done enough marching? Right? No. Y'all need to be at the cookout somewhere, eating a seafood boil. Like, sit down and relax. Put your feet up. Okay? Eat some watermelon and fried chicken. No, we're not going to be out there protesting with y'all. It's not safe for us anyway. Okay? White people can protest because when they get arrested, they have lawyers. When we get arrested, we can't post bond. Okay? That's the difference. I could not believe my eyes if white people don't stand up for each other. Since when? With the number of white supremacist groups in this country, including the 3K, like, so the young guy who was speaking is Somalian and the child is Somalian, right? So he was standing up for his people. But let me not distract from what's important. This is the real reason. Because I asked myself, how in the hell, it's 2025, with everything that has happened in this country, how is it that someone who uses racial slurs on a 5-year-old receive $500,000 in donations? Here's why. They gave $500,000 to Austin Metcalf's unaliver. Okay? So this is retaliate, and we're going to get into that story in a second, because that statement is out of context. So you have white people that are mad because Carmelo Anthony's family was raising money. Maybe they had a reason to raise money. Not like this one here, crying white woman wolf. Okay? I've seen so many videos of Karens who are actually the aggressor run into the person that they are targeting and fall back on their own, talking, oh my God, you hit me. The Rochester branch NAACP launched its own crowdfunding campaign on GoFundMe for the defenseless 5-year-old black child who is reportedly on the autism spectrum, and that the female allegedly called the N-word. Well, it's not alleged, okay? You can take that up out of there. It's not alleged. We heard her say it, so it's not alleged. The page currently raised $128,000 of its $250,000 goal. So this is as of this article, which is a couple of days old. I'll give you the new numbers. The Rochester branch of the NAACP has taken this matter with the utmost seriousness. We are standing up for this child, his family, and every member of our community who deserves to live free from racist violence and intimidation, right? Not all white people do this. Not all white women do this, but there is a certain type, right? And this is the America that Donald Trump wanted to, quote unquote, make great again. This is what he wanted. He wanted to get this country back to where white people had the upper hand and black people do not. That's why we got rid of all the DEI. That's why we're pulling funding from black colleges. That's why we want to dismantle the Smithsonian Black History Museum and act like this shit never happened, right? That's why. Because black people have come too far. We've achieved too much. We've gotten too rich. We talk too much, right? We need to be put back in our place. Let me give you the current numbers in terms of these fundraisers. So as I said, she's raked in more than 500,000 off of this, and we heard the reasons why, right? Here's another take on what happened. When Shamake Omar asked Hendricks if he flung the vile slur at the child, she said, yeah, he took my son's stuff. Now, Omar is 30 years old. He pressed the woman who was carrying a child on her hip and asked if digging through her belongings would justify using a racial slur against the child. She said, if that's what he's going to act like. And again, thousands of people commented online and condemned her for using hateful language, especially against a child. You can't see that the boy is autistic? You have a child. You can't tell the difference between a normally functioning child and a child that obviously has some issues, some challenges. His parents, who were from Somalia, were supervising their 3 other children on the playground at the time of the incident. I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't care how many kids you have, you can't watch 3 and leave one alone. Okay. This child is autistic, should not have been by himself in the first place. Because I guarantee you, if the parents had been there, I don't think this would have happened. And if it had, it probably would have been a fight. That little boy was visibly upset by the incident. This is what Omar says, who is also of Somalian heritage. During the confrontation, Hendricks told him that he and his wife shouldn't have more children because they are a drain on the welfare system. What you say? This black man and his wife are a drain on the welfare system, but there's more white people on welfare than any other race. So who's draining the welfare system? She looked like she on welfare. Hendricks has since proclaimed himself victim of the, I'm sorry, Hendricks, this is the white lady, has proclaimed herself a victim of an attack. So you call a 5-year-old black boy the N-word, you get confronted. He didn't put hands on her. He didn't even raise his voice at her. He spoke to her. And now you're the victim. I'm so sick of this foolishness. That in itself should be a crime. She's asserting online that the viral video has put her family in jeopardy. This is why she needed to raise $1 million. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was, the woman identifying herself as Hendricks said in the crowd. This is what she put on her fundraising post. Another man who recently found out has had a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which caused my family, myself great turmoil. When nobody told you to open up your mouth. Nobody told you to use these words on this child. Everybody has cameras now. What you think? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how bad things will be in this country without the technology that we have today? Without traffic cameras and cell phones and body cams? Can you imagine the stuff that people will be able to get away with and how bad it would be? These cameras have saved us, Black and brown people, okay? Because white people don't get threatened like this. They don't, get the police pulling up to them while they're walking on the sidewalk in a nice neighborhood asking, can I see your driver's license? Because you look like somebody that's committed a crime. What are you talking about? I live here. No, that doesn't happen to them. White people don't get questioned about why they're here. They don't get told, I don't believe you. I don't think you live in this neighborhood, right? Like every white person lives in a nice neighborhood. Not the case. Anyway, she said her social security number was leaked online. Her phone number, her address may have been given out freely, and family members were being attacked. Well, that's your fault. You started this foolishness. You could have kept your mouth shut. You didn't have to do what you did. You were being a Karen, and you are dealing with Karen consequences. My eldest child may not be going back to school, even where exercise has been exposed. So she's being shunned. She was being shunned everywhere because of what she did. Well, that's your fault. Nobody told you to do that. You can't get away with stuff like that anymore. I don't care who the president is. Keep listening to Donald Trump. You hear? Keep listening. Y'all Karens, some who might be listening, keep listening to Donald Trump. We are tired of the foolishness, okay? Some of y'all, having somebody follow you with a camera is going to be the least of your worries, okay? Because I'm starting to see situations where Karens are getting knocked in the face. They're getting punched. They're getting spit on. We're fighting back. I don't condone violence, but I also don't condone having someone treat you this way and you just stand there and take it either. Hendricks claims she believes she must relocate herself and her 2 children to escape threats stemming from the internet and has asked for $1 million to make the move. It does not cost $1 million to move. Okay? It doesn't. As of yesterday, she had received more than $525,000. Okay? Now, this is the interesting part. She claimed that the guy recording her had issues with the police, right? Listen to this. She claimed in a post that Omar had a history of problems with law enforcement. State records show that she has had multiple convictions of her own, including driving under the influence. Oh, no, not a DUI. No. Not Miss Perfect White Patty getting hit with a DUI. Disorderly conduct and brawling. Not you with the WWE. What? The Rochester Police Department said Friday it was investigating the matter after receiving multiple calls relating to the video. This isn't racism. It's a public reckoning for Carmelo Anthony getting paid $500,000 to unalive a white child while no one flinched. Shiloh raising money for a slur is just a mirror, and what it reflects is a society that rewards certain narratives, buries others, and calls it justice. Well, ain't that a fact? Ain't that a fact? Because there's two types of justice, white justice and black justice, and it is not the same thing. All right. So being that they keep bringing up Carmelo Anthony, let's talk about his story. Okay. They're upset because the family bought Carmelo Anthony a car. Okay. There's an article titled Unaliver Carmelo Anthony's family bought car and were showered with Amazon gifts as he is freed over Austin Metcalf's unaliving. The family of a teen accused of stabbing a promising student athlete to death have reportedly made lavish purchases and been inundated with deliveries at their home. Now, only part of this is true. They have been inundated with deliveries and people sending gifts to support them. And you may be asking why. We're going to get to that. But the family has made it very clear. The narrative that's being put out is not what they think it is. It's not what's being said. So Carmelo Anthony, 17, here he is. Okay. Here's a picture. Let me just show you. Let me show you this picture. This is what I mean when I talk about the fact that white people refuse to acknowledge the fact that they benefit from white privilege, right? They like to say, no, there's no white privilege. There is white privilege. There are things that white people can get and get offered to them that we do not, right? And so let's get into this story. Carmelo Anthony, he's 17 years old. He was released from jail on Monday now this article is from 18 days ago, so it wasn't this past Monday, okay? Weeks after allegedly knifing Austin Metcalf, also 17, at a high school track meet. Okay, we'll get into what happened in a second. So here he is, this young man, 17 years old, and here is Austin Metcalf. Okay, this is the young man who unfortunately lost his life, and he's a twin. He's a twin. So there were people saying that the Anthonys are said to be renting a home valued at around $863,000 in Frisco, Texas. This is what got the white supremacists and the racist people upset in the first place. They don't own this home. They're renting. Who cares what it's valued at? They don't own it. Right? The first question is, how is it that these, N-words are able to afford to rent a $800, almost $1 million house? I've been to Frisco. It's beautiful. Okay. The neighbors claim that the family has made lavish purchases. The neighbors, you see how there's no loyalty? Now, the neighbors before this incident probably would wave to the Anthonys when they drove by. Hey, Mr. Anthony. Hi, Miss Anthony. Right? You see how quickly they turn? The neighbors claim the family have made lavish. How do you know? You have access to their bank statements? Just because they're getting packages from Amazon, who cares? He's got a new car, one local said. And the family has been inundated with Amazon packages, and a Domino's pizza was delivered to the home. Well, maybe they're getting Amazon packages because their 17-year-old is on house arrest and can't leave the house. So now black folk can't order Domino's pizza? And I can't see your comments, so just keep them coming. I'll get back to them. Anthony was released from jail after a judge agreed to lower his $1 million bond to $250,000. But he has to wear an ankle monitor and comply with strict conditions. Anthony must be supervised by an adult and check in with a judge's bailiff on a Friday morning. Okay? Listen to what I just said. He must be supervised by an adult. Maybe that's why they're getting Amazon packages, because he can't leave the house, so they can't goddamn leave the house either. They can't leave the house. How are they supposed to get their toilet paper? How are they supposed to get more dish detergent, laundry detergent, soap, and other household items, maybe deodorant? What are they supposed to eat? If they run out of food and he needs to be supervised and another family member is working and they can't get to the store before the store closes, maybe they're ordering groceries from Amazon. You think? The nerve of these people. See, this is what happens when you are all up in somebody's business and you don't know the flavor or the details, right? We used to say all in the Kool-Aid and don't know the flavor. All up in their business and you don't know the details of what's going on. They've been inundated with Amazon packages, maybe because they can't leave the house. You think? He's also banned from using social media and cannot contact Metcalf's family. His family has been inundated with donations totaling more than $440,000. Okay, let's talk about why. They're planning to use that money to buy a new home and increase security. Let's put this into perspective. A black boy stabbed a white boy and the white boy died. They live in Texas, albeit Frisco, which is a very nice neighborhood, but God damn it, it's not that safe. So you think that maybe they might have to move? Maybe it's not safe to live in that neighborhood? I can only imagine people spray painting the house, all right? People, leaving human feces on their lawn, throwing toilet paper and eggs and doing all type of stuff. I wouldn't feel safe either. They're probably afraid that somebody's going to retaliate. They're probably afraid that somebody's going to try to lynch that young man. So yeah, they need to move. And they don't need $1 million to move. Let's be clear. So that they can buy a new home because they're renting this one. And increase security. Yeah, security cameras cost money. It's expensive. Anthony's team revealed the fundraiser will go towards supporting urgent and necessary needs. Okay? They just spent his bond was reduced to $250,000. They would have had to cover at least 10% of that. And that's assuming it wasn't a cash bond where they had to cover all $250,000. So maybe that $440,000 went toward, reimbursing them for whoever they had to borrow money, however they had to get the money. Because see, they didn't own their home, so they couldn't get a home equity loan. What black family has $25,000 just laying around? Very few. Might be able to pull it out of an annuity or something like that, but very few. They're planning to use the money to buy a new home, increase security, okay, and to put it toward urgent and necessary needs, okay? They explain that fears regarding his safety have escalated. Now, at the top of this article, they claim that they bought him a new car. He can't leave the house. What the hell is he going to do with the new car? Or did the family buy a car? And maybe he was just standing outside the car taking pictures because he's 17. That's what 17-year-olds do. They like to perpetrate. Oh, look at me. Yeah, look. I mean, it's what happens when you all up in people's business. They explain that fears regarding his safety have escalated. I'm sure. My family needs to be able to survive. If one parent has to stay home with this 17-year-old and both parents were working, that means somebody has lost their income. Everybody cannot work from home. And according to Donald Trump, when you work from home, you're not doing a damn thing. So he's making everybody go back to work. Everybody got to come back to work. So what are they supposed to do? Now, compare and contrast these two stories, right? Let's talk about what happened, because they're calling him an unaliver, a deleter, and all these other things. Let's talk about what happened here, because what I'm going to propose to you is that this young man, this young kid, okay, handsome as he can be, Austin Metcalf, lost his life because of Karen behavior. Yes, I'm going to get to it in a second. I absolutely said it. I'm not saying that he deserved to lose his life. It could have been avoided, right? But You are responsible for the things that you do and say. Okay? You can't do and say certain things. And then when your child or someone in your family loses their life, now you just want to blame the person who took the life. What about what you did? There's been a tremendous amount of pressure. I think at this point, living in a gated community, given everything, the safety of their younger children is very warranted. Can you imagine his siblings having to go to school and the hell that they're going through? Hendrix is over here talking about, oh, my son is not going to be able to return back to school. That's your fault. Howard warned that security isn't cheap. Oh, we know that. Okay. So I already talked about it. He's not allowed to use social media. He can't contact Metcalf's family. He can only leave the house with prior approval from the court. It must be supervised by a parent at all times. Let's see what else is here. All right, so let's get into what actually happened. Fake dossiers purporting to be autopsy reports have surfaced online claiming that Metcalf died from an overdose. Police called out posts on social media where investigators were impersonated. Metcalf, a high school junior, died in his twin brother's arms, which is devastating, following the attack at Kendall Stadium. Anthony allegedly stabbed Metcalf following an argument over a seat. Okay? Lost his life over a seat. Well, let's talk about why. Okay? Because it takes two to tango. Carmelo did not just walk up to the stadium, go up to Austin Metcalf and pull out a knife and stab him with it. That is not what happened here. So here's what did happen. Metcalf's dad, this is the young man who lost his life, Jeff, claimed that a person was mouthing off behind his son's athletics team. Stay with me. They were sitting there and someone was behind them mouthing off. And they turned around and said, "Who are you?" Let's just pause right there for a second. Let's just pause right there for a second. And I see all of the comments. I'm going to try to make this bigger so that you can see what I'm reading. It's just, it's a little difficult, but I'll try to make it bigger. All right, let's just stop there for a second. I said to you that this is Karen behavior, right? That this young man lost his life because of Karen behavior, right? That's what I said, right? What is the first thing? What is the telltale sign of a Karen? What is the first thing? And if you only had to choose one thing that is indicative of a Karen, it's asking, well, who are you? Why are you here? So somebody's mouthing off behind dad. Dad turns around and asks, who are you? That's what started this whole thing. The person replied, I'm Mello, before Metcalf's team hit back saying he went to a different school. They reportedly warned Anthony to find a new seat. Okay, what do you mean warned him? How do you warn somebody to find a new seat? A warning is usually for the purpose of giving an instruction to promote safety, right? So you get a tornado warning to help you make a decision to keep you safe, right? You get an alert on your phone that, hey, somebody is outside your house doing something that they shouldn't do, right? So a warning is for the purpose of ensuring safety. I don't understand how you warn somebody to find a new seat. I can guarantee you that is not what happened, but what likely happened is they told him to go, you need to get up. Remember, the conversation started with, who are you? Who are you to be asking somebody else who is minding their business, who are you? So what? They're mouthing off. It's a game. It's a football game. That's what people do. They mouth off, right? So apparently Carmelo and whoever was with him was trash talking the home team. And I guess dad didn't like that. And because they were black, okay, dad was being a Karen. Well, who are you? Because if he's black, he obviously don't belong there, right? And he says, I'm mellow. They reportedly warned him to find a new seat. No, they didn't warn him to find a new seat. They told him. And they probably didn't tell him in a nice way. They probably told him in an angry and threatening way. You don't own the school or the bleachers. You can't tell somebody to find a new seat. Why didn't you get your white ass up and find a new seat? If they were bothering you, Dad could have gotten up and moved. How about that? I was protecting myself, he reportedly told an investigator. So Anthony told the police he was acting in self-defense. Okay, put it into perspective. You have this young black man, okay, that is at an away game, surrounded by white people in a state that is known to be racist. I believe, wasn't it Texas? Wasn't Texas the last state to let slaves know that slavery had ended, and they decided to not tell them for a while, and it's like 3 or 4 years later, these people have been free for 3 or 4 years and didn't know. I believe that happened in Texas. Anyway, but let's just be real. So he tells the police, I was protecting myself. This is what he tells the investigator. The teen claimed that he warned Metcalf to keep his hands off of him. There you go. Why did Metcalf put his hands on Carmelo Anthony? You can't, you don't have a mouth, you can't speak. The truth of the matter is his dad should not have said anything, should have said nothing, right? Energy is running very high during these games, right? Because Texas, just like Georgia, we take football very seriously, way too seriously. So he tells him, keep your hands off of me. Why would he say that unless somebody put hands on him? The person who lost his life. One witness told officers that Anthony threatened Metcalf. Touch me and see what happens. Okay. They said that he opened his bag before warning Metcalf, touch me and see what happens. All right, this is a black thing, right? It's kind of like that. I wish an MFer would. I wish you would put your hands on me, touch me and see what happens, right? I was protecting myself. This is what he says. Carmelo Anthony says he was protecting himself. So he told the person who lost their life, touch me and see what happens. He was warning him. Because apparently if he said, I warned him to keep his hands off of me, okay, touch me and see what happens. Well, guess what? You're dealing with people who assume that they own everything. They own the bleachers. They own the stadium. They own the seats. All right. They own the field, and they can question whoever they want. Anthony admitted that he stabbed Metcalf while being quizzed by the police. He said, it's not alleged. I did it, but I did it in self-defense. He never lied. He didn't try to run. Cops revealed that Anthony was crying hysterically and one spot of fresh blood on his left hand. Metcalf's brother Hunter described the unaliving as senseless. Absolutely, it was senseless, right? It was senseless because don't start none, won't be none, right? It shouldn't have been any argument to begin with, right? I honestly blame Dad. And I know some people are going to come for me. I'm not saying that Carmelo Anthony gets a pass because he had a weapon in his bag and he must have had it in there for a reason. And I don't blame him. When I go to certain places and neighborhoods, I carry a knife too. My intention is not to pull it out and stab anybody. It's for my protection. I don't know what happened here at this game, but I can imagine that this white father and his 2 twin boys, and I mean, this kid is a football player. He's huge. You see how skinny Carmelo Anthony is? He's small, okay? All up in their face, spitting and carrying on and whatnot. He probably was afraid for his life because that is what, just like how white people claim that black people frighten them even when we're not doing a damn thing. But that's what white people, you corner somebody, what do you expect? I don't know why a person would do that to someone just over a little argument. It's just crazy in this world nowadays how people just up and do that. You know what's crazy? How white people feel they have a right to question anybody. How white people feel they have a right to question a person just because of the color of their skin. How white people, not all, again, I'm talking about a certain type, assume that if it's a black or a brown person, they're committing a crime. They don't live here. They're up to no good. There's a story that went viral of a black couple lives in a very prominent neighborhood, beautiful house. Man pulls into his driveway, sees a white woman there with her baby in a stroller. Okay, he's, you know, rolls down the window. Can I help you? You need help? And she proceeds to ask him, who is he? There we go. There we go with the who are you. He's like, I live here. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I'm gonna post the video. I don't know if I can find it right now and it's late. But she says, I don't believe that. She's in his driveway, trespassing on his property. Now, all of this was captured on their Ring camera. Okay. The wife comes out and she's like, what's going on? She's like, oh no, because so let me back up. So before the wife comes out, the guy is like, no, I live here. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. He's like, yeah, I live here. And the guy proceeds to get out of his vehicle in his driveway and walk to the front door where the woman was standing on his porch. She leaves the stroller. Thank God the baby wasn't in the stroller. She leaves the stroller and runs out. Hey, oh my God. All this is no exaggeration. It's all captured in the video. The wife comes out because now the husband comes. Her husband comes. The wife comes out and she's like, what the hell is going on? He's like, no, because my wife, the husband is starting to apologize. Here come the white woman tears. No, because I was standing there and I didn't know that you lived here. And he's like, but the husband is like, but you did know because I asked you. I mean, because you asked me. And I told you I live here and you told me you didn't believe me. You said you didn't believe me. And the husband is still trying to apologize. And here come the tears. Well, you got to understand because I was afraid for my life. I thought he was following me because, in this neighborhood, it's not always safe. And he's like, you're on my property. This is my house. Like, what are you? Do you see where I'm going with this? Anyway. Hunter paid a glowing tribute to his brother at the memorial service. He was the strongest kid I knew and the bravest, and all the memories I can look back on. I wish we can make more, he told the congregation. All right. Metcalf was a rising football star, and tributes were paid by his coaches and teammates. Chris Jackson described him as a natural leader, as per Christian Post. I will tell you that he wanted us to live by a gold standard, and that gold standard is grace. Now, it's interesting that they put that in there because you know who also had a promising football career was this young man, okay? And because white people don't know how to mind their freaking business and always feel like they got to question people and ask them who they are and why they're here and carrying on, an argument ensued that led to this man, this young boy, feeling scared and trapped, okay? Y'all seen the Color Purple? Y'all seen the Color Purple, the scene with Miss Sophia? When the white mayor says, oh, are those your children? They're so clean. Would you like to be my maid? She says, excuse me? Would you like to be my maid? Oprah Winfrey, as Sophia said, hell no. Miss Millie, it was the mayor's wife, Miss Millie, said, what did you say? Sophia said, I said, hell no. And here comes her husband across the street. What did you say to her? Yada, yada, yada. All up in her face. Okay, he punches her. Y'all remember the scene where she falls onto the hood of the car and you see her ball up her fists and she's screaming, get my children, get my children, leave me alone. And they all ganged up on her. And then someone comes out the cut with a pistol and knocks her in the eye with it and knocks her down. Okay, I can only imagine a similar scene where this young man is afraid for his life. He's seen what has happened all on TV. Okay, he pulls out a weapon. I don't think he meant to take this young boy's life. I don't think he meant that at all. It's just unfortunate that where he stabbed him and how he stabbed him, this young man died in his brother's arms. Where was EMT? Where was the help? Is there a doctor in the house? There are 2 lives destroyed. And so you have a lot of white people out there that heard about donations coming to Carmelo Anthony to help out his family, because this young boy did not mean to take this white kid's life. He took a white life in the South. Okay? That's a death sentence. So maybe they really needed that money so that they can move. Now, just to be fair, share another article. Austin Metcalf's dad trashed the Protect White Americans protesters who held a rally for his slain son, claiming that they don't give a shit about my family, and that's a fact. Okay. So apparently the protesters held a rally against his son's accuser, calling them race baiters who want to spew their narrative for their own agenda. This is what the father said. So Austin Metcalf's dad slammed these white supremacist protesters, calling them race baiters who want to spew their narrative for their own agenda. He basically said, look, you're not going to exploit my son's death for your own purpose. Okay, you're not gonna do that. Organizers from a group called Protect White Americans, can you believe that? As if they don't have any protection. So white Americans have no protection is what we're saying. White Americans get profiled because they're white. White Americans get asked by people of color, who are you and what are you doing here? And when they tell them, well, I don't believe you. I don't think you. White people get told, I don't think you belong in this neighborhood. No. I've never seen you before. You couldn't. This is a rich neighborhood. You don't live here. You have no right to be here, right? White people have police who always, in nearly every instance, use excessive force against them. The hell out of here. Protect White Americans condemned local authorities for supporting what they called an anti-white hate and anti-white violence by releasing Anthony, who is Black, on bond. So they were upset that he got released on bond. Or were they upset that the family was able to post the bond? I don't know. But here is dad and his son. His son is handsome as can be, could have been a model. You know, it's sad and it needs to stop. Okay. Carmelo Anthony did not initiate this confrontation. His father started it, and it ended with his son losing his life. And it shouldn't have happened. So there you have it. Let me go and check your comments. Hold on one second. I'm going to stop sharing. So when I tell you can't make this stuff up, Jam said they're still being taught how Black people are to be treated. It's a shame. You have to teach human beings how to treat other human beings when you treat your little dogs and your puppies better than you treat people of color. Not YouTube white. Remember Kyle Rittenhouse had a GoFundMe as well? They felt sorry for him. I remember that. Marcy said, hey, beautiful WD and chat. Hope everything is good. Yeah, this is crazy. Jam said, I had an incident over the weekend and had to tell a man I am of 92%. I am of the 92% and sitting this out. His face was priceless. Look at America's history. You know, but this is unfortunately what too many people unknowingly voted for. And I read a comment off of one of these articles that really struck me to my core. And the article said that this is what happens because people voted the way they voted to hurt and harm Black people. And I wish I had the quote up. I'll find it and I'll post it so that I could say it a little bit better. But people voted selfishly in this last election. And there are people who voted purposely to do Black people harm. And it backfired, right? Some people voted thinking it's going to be them and not us. They'll be affected, but not us. Some people voted thinking that, oh, it'll just be the hardened illegal criminals that will get that will get thrown out of the country. Sorry, hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. That will get deported, right? But how many of those most dangerous criminals are there? Not many. So now you have the president And he's not my president, but he is a president, right? But you got Donald Trump resorting to actually trying to deport US citizens, right? And when he was confronted and asked, don't you know that that's unconstitutional? He's like, well, I don't know if it is. I can't. I can't with the nonsense. I'm tired of the public using GoFundMe as welfare. I know that's right. He really wanted to make America white again. You should listen. You ain't said nothing but a word. Nothing but a word. There is another Amazon boycott that is happening, I believe, the first week in May. So I believe it's next week. Now, I talked about the first blackout back in February. Then there was another one in April, and then there's this one in May. And I'm going to tell you something. I can't tell you the amount of comments that I received from people asking me, well, what is one day going to do? Is that really going to make a difference? Can I tell you something, that when Black people band together, okay, not only does it inspire other people, other non-Black people to band with us, but one thing that Black people are good at is change. We have been able to initiate and create change, not just talk about it, but create real change in this country like no other race has. Okay. Donald Trump was trying to make a change. Now he done messed a whole bunch of stuff up, but he hasn't successfully made any positive changes at all. What he's done is he's ruined this economy. The GDP is down, way down. He's ruined our reputation with every other country on this planet. Okay. We're headed into a recession, and praying that it's not a depression. All right. I'm telling y'all now, stock up on stuff and take some money out the bank. Okay. On your next paycheck, take 500, 600, 1,000 if you can afford it out of the bank, and just hold on to the cash. You know, he has it's kind of like me coming to your house and I say, you know what, I'm gonna redo your bathroom. We're gonna make some changes in the kitchen. All right. We'll expand, you know, your living room, and we're going to redo your closet. And I come to your house and I just demolish every room by room. Okay. You come home and there are no walls. All the plumbing has been ripped out down to the studs. Right. In a home that you were anticipating you were going to be able to live in during renovations. Because if you do room by room, you can live in a home while renovations are going on, if you do it right. But not if somebody comes in and demolishes every single room, everything. Didn't even put your stuff in the storage, right? Or put all your stuff outside and then there was a rainstorm and everything got destroyed. That's literally what this man has done to this country. He has smashed everything. He has smashed everything. He has emboldened white supremacists. They are saying that he's an op for Vladimir Putin. No surprise there, because everything that he's doing is what an op would do, right? It's sad. It's really, 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 really sad. But what I will tell you is that one of the things that I read from some of the comments about the boycott is that they didn't see how it was going to make a difference. Well, when it's over, people would just go back to shopping, but they didn't. They didn't. Target saw 7% decrease. They still haven't seen foot traffic. Do you know Target is closing stores? They're actually closing some of their storefronts, or talking about potentially closing. You know, it wasn't just that they closed every one of their stores on Easter Day, right? But we moved the needle. We moved the needle. We hit them where it hurt, and we're continuing to do it. We started with Target and Walmart, you know, Amazon. Now we're going to be hitting other box stores, because the whole premise behind it is to let them know we first of all, I don't have all the numbers, so I'm not going to make up numbers. But what economists, which I've known this, but Black people spend money. Okay. The Black dollar has power. We spend trillions of dollars. We represent the well, not exactly the smallest, but nearly the smallest race in this country. What, somewhere still after all this time, still around 13%. But the amount of money that we spend. So when we choose as a community across this country not to spend our money in certain stores, it hurts. So I'll do a separate short video on the actual numbers for those of you who are interested in knowing the result of the boycott and did it really have any kind of an impact. And then Jamal Bryant got into it here in Georgia. I'm telling you, it definitely had impact. But what I will tell you, and this is the last thing I'll say before we wrap up, they are predicting that stores will not be able to restock. So I've said it multiple times. Do what it is that you need to do. Get some canned goods, get water, get some money out of the bank. Do what Donald Trump's aides are doing. Okay? I'm not telling you to go out and hoard stuff. Just get some extra stuff. Get some extra toilet paper, paper towels, get some extra canned goods, get you, a 20-pound, 30-pound bag of rice, just in case. Just in case. Get you some seeds. Now would be a great time to plant an herb garden. Okay? You don't even have to have a backyard. You can use pots and you can grow your own tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers and zucchini. Okay. I'm just saying. All right. Do that. Do it soon because they're predicting that the shelves are going to be empty. If you're thinking that come July, you're going to do back to school shopping, there might not be much available left at that time. So start doing what his aides are doing because they obviously know that something is up. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this live. Again, you can't make this up. All right. So this was Sunday shenanigans. All right. We're not going to be this late all the time. It's just I had a late start today. But thank you to Zen Soul and Marcy and Kia and Snoopalicious and I am Mrs. BB. I see you and June's Poetry and Jammy Jam. And who else did I miss? And Zen Soul and so many of you that are in here. Ale is in the building. Hold on one second. I missed a lot of comments. I can't go yet. I can't go just yet. I missed a lot of comments. Hold on a second. Let me see. I am Mrs. BB's just said, good evening, everyone. I've been listening while taking care of business. All the stories presented is our reality. It's a sad reality. I see you can't block truth said they are saying that Carmelo Anthony's mother posted the house on her Facebook page back in 2023. They need to stop. What's going on, LA? Good evening to you, Queen. There's just a lot of hate. And unfortunately, I don't know if this is going to get any better. People are very emboldened to be very forward with the racism, very blunt. We're no longer politically correct. We're just seeing more and more cases where it's like, tell me how you really feel, right? Start with Lee Atwater's Southern strategy and work your way back through the Johnsons and Nixon's policies and keep researching and you will understand the Republican Party. Well, like I said, do what you see them do and not what they say, right? So do what they do and not what they say. That's what I'm getting at. Okay? Do what they do and not what they say. Because they're saying one thing and they're doing another. And obviously they know something is up because the food is one thing. I don't think it's going to be like how it was with COVID. I hope not. It could be worse. I don't know. But the damage is already done. And there's not a whole lot that can be done about it. We just have to brace for it. However, the Republicans are withdrawing large sums of money out of their accounts and stashing it in their homes. Now, I don't know how smart that is because a lot of Republicans' home addresses are public or can easily be found. So, I don't know which aides are doing it, but they might want to be careful because what you don't want is people like rolling up into your house because they know you got cash there. But the point is the fact that they're not trusting their money in the banks and they're pulling money out for like an emergency situation says a lot. It really says a lot. And we're all trying to be positive, but y'all, this is scary. This is absolutely scary. Zenso said exactly, WD. I suggested people make a copy of their real ID, their passport, their birth certificate, and send it to your email. If your phone or documents are stolen, you'll always have your email. I know that's right. I keep a picture of my driver's license, my passport card, because I have a passport card. And I would recommend those of you who have passports but do not have a passport card, you might want to get one. The difference is the passport card cannot be used for international travel. It's like a driver's license. However, it's proof of citizenship. Okay. Because Hispanic people seem to be, Latinos seem to be the target primarily for this deportation nonsense. And Hispanic people come in all colors. They can be white, like white people, blonde hair, blue eyes, and everything, or they can be darkest of the dark skin, dark hair, dark eyes. So they can snatch anybody. And you want to be able to prove who you are. So I have a picture of it and it's saved to my cloud. But that's a good idea is to take a photocopy and send it to your email so you had it. Yep. Yes, Zensoul said, remember, thank you, Zensoul. Remember to have enough food for your pets. Zensoul, I bought 84 pounds of dog food when I went to Walmart. 84 pounds of dog food. Okay. Because that was going to be my concern. I have enough dog food to last my dogs easily the next 6 months, maybe more, but definitely at least the next 6 months. So yeah, if you guys have pets, stock up on your pet food now. That's all I can tell you. I mean, you don't have to go to Walmart and buy, like 152 rolls of paper towels. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like I got the biggest one that they had, I think was 24 triple rolls. I just got one of those. So you don't have to go nuts, but just have a little bit of extra just in case. I would recommend not making any major purchases right now. If you haven't already purchased big ticket items like electronics, you don't want to do that right now. I would recommend not going on expensive vacations right now. Just wait and see. And anything that's not a necessity, listen, I have started canceling subscriptions, memberships, and all kind of things that I'm not utilizing. Not stuff that's $3 and $4, but I'm talking about like the big ticket stuff, the $50 memberships and the $25. I was paying $25 a month for some Netflix. Now I have up and changed that bad boy. I marked it right down to the $7 plan. I don't even watch Netflix like that. So yes, ma'am. Share this information. Zenso said that they're not deporting, they're kidnapping. They show is share this information, share this video with your family and friends. All right. The most important information is in like the last half hour, 40 minutes of the video. But definitely share the video. If you didn't like the video on the way in, make sure you like the video on the way out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I will see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.